Hey guys, John here. I cannot begin to tell you how happy I am because the day has finally come. In case you don't know, I have a very unhealthy obsession with the Polivoks sound, and I've even considered buying an original off Reverb, but then again, it's expensive. You get it shipped over. If a part breaks, who knows if you can replace it? There's that whole thing. But I do have a Polivoks Mini from Elta Music, which does sound fantastic, but it's an analog piece of gear, so I have to set everything up and do everything. So I've always wanted to have a VST that I could just load up, have the Polivoks sound wherever I am in the world, and just have a great time. So the day finally came. Cherry Audio has released the Atomika, which is so cool because I actually never thought this day would come. I've made a video about it, just begging developers on my knees. I'm like, please, please make a Polivoks VST. We have so many Moog emulations out there. There's Profits. Basically, every old synth out there in the sun has an emulation, which is really cool. Don't get me wrong. But I felt like the Polivoks was kind of forgotten about, but no more. Cherry Audio said, no way, we're going to make the Polivoks. So here we are. So I've made a couple presets. This one is actually kind of cool that I want to show you. This one's called Radiation. Now, from the few presets I have made from using the synthesizer so far, they haven't necessarily been my typical like maybe leads or basses or something like that. They've been more so sound effects, which is really cool because there's some interesting textures that we're able to make in this synth. And this whole next week, we're going to be doing some sound design with this guy and really making some cool sounds. But I just wanted to share the happiness in my life right now because the Polivoks VST is now on my computer. This is this is amazing. Okay, so what's cool is once you get this guy installed, right, you're gonna get him come with a default preset, obviously. And there's just something, I don't know how to explain the synthesizer. There's something about that here. So, for example, let's kind of crank up some of these oscillators here and check out some of the resonance, because really the magic in the Polivoks, if you have one or if you've just been obsessed with them as I have, is in the filter, which is a whole different type of filter here. Now, that what you're hearing right there isn't just your typical, oh, we have some high resonance on a cutoff and we're kind of sweeping through it so it kind of rings out a little bit. No, 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 no. This is a whole different type of resonance, and the stuff you can do with this is really crazy. And there's also some extra things that aren't really in the original. So the original was duophonic, which is obviously really cool. But here, what's even more amazing, we can go from mono to duo, 4, 8, or 16 voices, which is really, really cool. Now, this thing, if you don't know, it can scream like a centipede in a fire. I've heard that story one time, so it's not a really crazy story there. Anyway, then maybe that's for another day. But what I do want to talk about here is that we have all these features from the Polivoks. We have some extra things as well, which we're going to get into this week. But what I found is really cool is if we go over here on the top right into the ARP effects section, we have a built-in ARP here. We have some FX modulation. We have a phaser, flanger, chorus, echo or delay, and reverb. So we have a lot of built-in stuff that makes it even cooler. And going through a lot of these different ones, because personally, I am a plate reverb guy. But going through these, I looked at this, I'm like, okay, Galactic, what does this sound like? And this one is wild too as well. And also, if you notice me here kind of moving the volume of the oscillators here in the mixer, what is interesting is that depending on the oscillator volume, it's going to react differently to the filter that I noticed, which is really, really cool because it just makes it feel more alive, makes it feel more realistic, so on and so forth. Jesus Christ. It kind of does sound like a scream there. And then we have some amp drive, which is kind of nice as well. Jesus Christ. And that's what, two oscillators messing with the resonance and the cutoff here, and some amp drive, some verb. So this is just kind of the basic stuff that you can get into with the synthesizer, but it's so cool. And I honestly, when I made those videos of saying, can somebody out there just kind of throwing some hope out in the world, can somebody please, for the love of God, make a Polivoks VST? I didn't think those prayers would be answered, but none other than Cherry Auto was like, you know what? Let's make a Polivoks. So that is so, so cool. I'm so happy. Yeah, and also keep in mind we have some extra stuff, like we have this starve here, which is really interesting, and we're gonna go through this week and kind of talk about what this does. There's some interesting things in the manual that kind of mention how this knob works and what we can do with it to make some cool different patch sounds. But yeah, just so you guys know, prepare for a Polivoks Atomika week. This thing sounds awesome. If you haven't tried it, check out the demo. I think you're gonna be surprised. And this synthesizer isn't just like, here's another old vintage synth from who knows when. This one sounds good because XYZ. This one, I feel, is a very separate category of synthesizer to every single vintage synth out there on the planet. And that's just, there's probably some truth to that. Obviously, it's my opinion, but anybody who's even played a Polivoks or owns one kind of knows that this thing is way different from all the other ones out there. It's its own beast. It's just crazy. It's wild. It's sometimes it reminds me a little bit of if you had an MS-20 and you just amped it up like it was the craziest MS-20 you've ever seen in your life, and then some. That's basically the Polivoks in a nutshell, kind of, I guess. If it's hard to put descriptions on synthesizers, but to wrap up this video, thank you so much to Cherry Audio for making this amazing piece of software. You've made John Audio's life and day and pretty much everything. So yeah, look forward to a cool, fun week making cool patches with this bad boy. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.